Joining me right now, Sheriff Chad Chronister. I don't call you acting, do I? No, it's the real thing now, right?
Yeah, October 1st, here's the keys, it's for real.
It's not an act at all. Well, first of all, congratulations.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
And we were just talking about, I think the first time we talked about was like bus safety a couple of years ago, maybe 3 or 4 years ago.
Yes, back as a lieutenant and captain in my community outreach days.
Now, I know that we covered the announcement live when David G. passed the baton, as it were, to you. Was this something you had planned, had hoped would happen in your career, or what?
It wasn't, and that's a great question. It wasn't. I always aspired to move up in our different ranks, but it was because I could have more of a profound impact the higher I went and rose within the organization. But never once did I sit back and say, hey, I want to be the sheriff. It was never an aspiration. It was going somewhere, being in a position where I could make the largest impact in my career.
So when did you figure out that you wanted to be in law enforcement? And if you tell me at 5 I wanted to be a cop, I know that isn't true. But when did it really strike that this is something you really wanted to do?
No, but it's funny you say that. I'm a year old. My mom's in the hospital having my sister. My dad's watching me. I, in my brilliant wisdom at 1 year old, decide to take the cap off the screws that hold the toilet on the ground, pop it in my mouth, and now I'm choking. So there's no cell phone days back here.
Yeah,
we lived in a duplex. My neighbor at the time was a police officer. So 911 wasn't even implemented back then. It was the old call system.
Yeah.
So he grabbed me. My dad was able to, because it was slippery side up, manage, as he's sitting and jumps out of the toilet, manages to maneuver it where I can get just enough air. My police officer / neighbor rushes me to the hospital where they turn me upside down and take it and save my life. So I've lived with that my whole life. So it's not corny to be quite honest with you. Yes, it is something that I always knew I wanted to do. I knew I wanted to be like him. I want to make a difference.
I had never heard that story before.
Yes.
Have you told that before? Other people know that?
I haven't, maybe one other time.
Oh my gosh. So it is kind of a passing of the baton. I've told you the first time I interviewed Sheriff David G., I believe was when he was the head of the jail. So that tells you how many years ago that was.
Back in the 80s.
Yeah, so what kind of relationship did you have with him? And was there ever any inkling in that relationship that this might be something that could happen?
You know, at the time, maybe there was, and I wasn't smart enough to figure it out, but he had taken me under his wing. He had placed me strategically in various components throughout the office, and at the time I thought, hey, what great opportunities, but I never knew that he saw something in me thinking, hey, listen, one day I'd love to hand this off to you. And he had never made that known to me as he's maneuvering me around the office until like maybe a year and a half ago. He says, listen, I'm going to run one more time. After that, I'd like to give it to you. We have a tradition here that we hand it off. The county's always believed in us and had that faith and confidence and trust in us, and this is what I want to do.
So how much time did you have out on the street?
I mean, altogether, I've been here almost 26 years.
So that's a long time. Now,
Yes.
was part, because you said you'd been in all of the areas, was part of that being out on the street too, or were you
Oh
always
yeah,
on the
no. Everyone that comes in the sheriff's office starts out, you know, whether if you're in the law enforcement discipline, out on the street, out learning the ropes on the road.
Now, we've seen different approaches to being a sheriff. We've seen Grady Judd, which, I mean, first of all, there's no other. Grady Judd is Grady Judd. There's nobody else like him.
Grady is Grady.
Bob Gualtieri over here in Pinellas County.
Yes, sir.
What is your, in quote, style that we'll kind of get used to? David G. did not like to be on camera a lot. I mean, he just didn't like to.
I think somewhere in between. I don't feel that I need to be out in front talking about every arrest we make or every something that we're involved with. I have great people. I think I empower them, and they do a phenomenal job. I think our office is just head and shoulders above a lot of different agencies, and that's not me being braggadocious.
No. I
think they do a phenomenal job, so I don't think I need to be out there. I'm not a showy sheriff by any means. I want to roll my sleeves up and get down and make things different, make things better kind of sheriff.
What's the biggest problem that sheriff's offices in general, and maybe even yours more specifically, are facing in terms of the toughest thing you have to deal with? Is it still drugs? Is it violent crime, and what is it?
Mental health.
Oh yeah.
Mental health, but you're right by saying drugs, because there's a codependency on some type of drugs, so they go hand in hand. But mental health, we expend a ton of resources, whether it's in our jails or whether on the road where we have to send multiple deputies to a mental health call.
This suicide by cop, I mean, I can't imagine anything harder for an officer to know that somebody wants you to shoot them, but that's the last thing that you want to do.
Absolutely, and I think our training has involved our outlook on how to handle these types of calls involved. You know, as police officers, we have to rush in, we have to fix the problem. And now we've learned to take a step back. If this person's only a threat to themselves,
right,
we'll wait them out. Maybe they'll fall asleep, maybe they'll change their mind. If the outcome was still going to be suicide, then it was going to be a suicide from the beginning, but there's certainly no need, if they're only a threat to themselves, for us to rush that incident.
And that's different than what we would call the active shooter scenario, which, since you've been in the department, has really changed, because years ago it was step back and evaluate. Nowadays it's go to the fire.
That's it. It was hold what you have and wait until the tactical units get here. Now it's no, there's no such thing as tactical units. An active shooter, stop that threat, pass the injured, do what you have to do to stop it now.
Do you have to get involved in the politics? Obviously you will be running for sheriff, but do you have to get involved in what many people would say with the political side of things? I know, talking again to Sheriff Bob Gualtieri, it was the part that he doesn't like about this system, is that the politics sometimes gets in the way.
And I think every sheriff feels the same way, but I understand it's an elected position. I'm a constitutional officer, and that's part of it. That comes with it. I think the downside to me is you know, raising money for a campaign. I think it would do so much better being suited for a charity, and which, you know, where the sheriff's office is so heavily involved in. And then it also, campaigning takes time away from you being at the office, you know, at nights, or doing something that you need to be doing sheriff's office related. But other than that, I understand it's a part of it.
Now, as a person, and I know there are many, I mean, I really appreciate law enforcement. We have unfortunately covered many law enforcement funerals on the air here. Yeah. I've been on the air, and it always just breaks me up about how dedicated these people are. Now, having said that, two things. One, salaries. I mean, of course, you know, I'm not paying you per se, but I'm saying, how do these guys do it for what they get paid?
I know. Well, fortunately, we have some great county commissioners. We're the second highest paid in the state. I would say the highest paid, but we have an anomaly down in West Palm Beach with that tax base.
Well, okay, sure.
But our compensation package, we're the highest paid in the state. We have a great compensation package, a great insurance package. It's just, but we, at the same time, we certainly do face a recruitment shortage. Like,
yeah, that's what I was going to ask you about. Why is there? Do people not want to be police officers, or what?
It's almost become less attractive. You see a lot of the millennials aren't motivated by money. We have a lot of people who can make the same amount of money doing other jobs where you don't make a split-second decision that you're forced to live with the rest of your life.
And I understand that in the nation there is a thread of anti-cop. I don't know who's responsible for it one way or another. How do you deal with that as an officer?
I think you do with it by gaining the community support, and you do that by being out in the community. We have just under 4,000 people at the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office, 4,000 ambassadors to be out selling the great work of the Sheriff's Office. Whether it's faith-based programs they're involved, their Little League, wherever they're at, all the charity work that we do at the Sheriff's Office, being out there, because I always say this, what's the most important thing that comes out of building a relationship? Trust.
Trust. Oh, absolutely.
In law enforcement, especially in today's modern day law enforcement, it's vital, it's peril to the success of a sheriff's office.
Well, congratulations again. I was tickled that you got it, because I know a little bit personally, and your wife is here too, because it's a celebration that you're doing as a family. And again, this notion of passing out in Hillsborough County, they have a tremendous history about that. Come back and talk to us again. We love talking to you,
I would love to. Thank you.
Because there's nothing higher than sheriff, right? Mayor? No, okay.
No.
We'll take it one day at a time.
Thank you, Al. Great to see you.